everyone, I am Satyam Mandal, 4th year MBBS student at BPKHS, and today I will be presenting on the topic investigation and diagnosis of discoid lupus erythematosus, systemic lupus erythematosus and dermatomyositis. Let's begin with the presentation. Firstly, discoid lupus erythematosus. The investigation can be broadly categorized into two groups. First, to confirm the diagnosis, and second, to rule out the systemic lupus erythematosus. To confirm the diagnosis, we have biopsy and immunohistology, and to rule out the SLE, we have serology, hemogram, urine examination, and some various other examinations. The findings of the biopsy are: there is lymphocytic interface dermatitis with basal layer degeneration. There is hyperkeratosis and keratotic plugging of the hair follicles. There is basement membrane thickening and perivascular and periadnexal lymphocytic infiltrates. There is atrophy of the epidermis. Immunohistology. Direct immunofluorescence stained by fluorescent isothiocyanate gout anti-immunoglobulin G shows presence of immunoglobulin, that is IgM, IgG and IgA, and complements at dermoepidermal junction in about 80% of the cases. IgM is usually demonstrated and IgG is less common. In serology, about 20% of the patients shows positive anti-nuclear antibodies. There is elevated serum gamma globulin, which is the most common abnormality. Level of C3 and C4 complement proteins are not depressed. Rheumatoid factor may be positive and antibodies to RNA may be present. Hemogram shows anemia, leukopenia and thrombocytopenia in about 1/3 of the patients. Urine examination is very important and is sensible investigation to rule out the proteinuria, which is a common finding in systemic lupus erythematosus. And other investigations like assessment of visual acuity, it is necessary in those needing systemic therapy with antimicrobials. For diagnosis, we have clinical features and biopsy. The face, scalp and the ears are the distribution sites. Morphology wise, annular discoid plaques with follicular plugs are seen. Carpet keratotic spikes on the undersurface of the scales are seen. There is central depigmentation and atrophic scarring and peripheral hyperpigmentation and erythema. And biopsy helps in confirming the diagnosis. The differential diagnosis of discoid lupus erythematosus are lupus vulgaris, lichen planus and psoriasis. Now let's begin with systemic lupus erythematosus. Again, the investigation can be broadly categorized into two groups. First one, to confirm the diagnosis, and second one, to establish the extent of disease. To confirm the diagnosis, we have biopsy, immunohistology and serology. The biopsy findings are: there is epidermal atrophy and basal cell degeneration, but the basal cell degeneration is less in comparison to the discoid lupus erythematosus. There is perivascular lymphocytic infiltrate. There is upper dermal mucinous edema. There is fibrinoid degeneration of the blood vessels, which is characteristic of SLE but is not always present. Immunohistology shows linear band-like deposits of immunoglobulin G, which is and also less frequently IgM and IgA, and also the deposition of C3 at the dermoepidermal junction and perivascularly. Serological findings: there is high titers of anti-nuclear antibodies are present. The patterns seen are the peripheral, homogeneous, speckled and nuclear. The peripheral pattern of anti-nuclear antibodies is characteristic of the SLE, while nuclear is usually not seen in the SLE. Antibodies to double-stranded DNA, it is seen in about 70% of the cases with systemic lupus erythematosus, that is SLE, and are specific for SLE. Other serological markers are antibodies to extractable nucleic acid, that is anti-Smith antibodies in about 30% of the cases. There is hypocomplementemia, that is the decrease in the both total complement protein and C3 complement protein. Antiphospholipid antibodies are present and the direct CUM test is positive. For establishment of the extent of the disease, a battery of tests or investigations are required. Hematological test shows anemia, leukopenia, thrombocytopenia, and increased erythrocyte sedimentation ratio. Urine investigation shows proteinuria in the urine and RBC cast on microscopy. Renal function test shows increased blood urea and creatinine and increased 24-hour urinary protein. Liver function tests are deranged. Ultrasound of abdomen are usually suggested. Cardiopulmonary evaluation needs chest X-ray, CT scan, and pulmonary function test. Musculoskeletal system investigations like X-rays are suggested. Rheumatoid factor are positive. And for investigation of the gastrointestinal tract and CNS are usually required if the signs and symptoms are demanding. For diagnosis of the systemic lupus erythematosus, the Systemic Lupus International Collaborating Clinics has given the diagnostic criteria. It can be divided into two groups. One is the clinical criteria and second is the immunological criteria. The clinical criteria includes acute cutaneous lupus, chronic cutaneous lupus, oral or nasal ulcers, non-scarring alopecia, arthritis, which is most likely rheumatoid-like arthritis, serositis. It includes pleurisy and pericarditis, renal abnormalities, that is persistent proteinuria of more than 0.5 microgram per day, neurological findings like seizures and psychosis, hemolytic anemia, leukopenia, and thrombocytopenia, that is less than 1 lakh platelets per mm cube. Immunological criteria includes anti-nuclear antibodies, anti-DNA antibodies, anti-Smith antibodies, anti-phospholipid antibody, low complement proteins, and direct test positive. The anti-nuclear antibodies are more sensitive but less specific, so is preferred investigation first. Then we do anti-DNA antibody test, which is more specific, and anti-Smith antibody test is much specific than anti-DNA antibody test. For the requirement for the establishment of the diagnosis, more than equals to 4 criteria must be present, which should include at least 1 clinical and 1 laboratory criteria, or biopsy proven lupus nephritis with positive anti-nuclear antibodies or anti-double stranded DNA antibodies must be present. Now let's begin with dermatomyositis. Again, the investigation can be broadly divided into two groups to confirm the diagnosis and to establish the extent of the disease. In a skin biopsy, there is lichenoid tissue reaction with bacular changes in the basal layer. Occasionally, cuvette bodies are seen. There is sparse superficial perivascular infiltrate with upper dermal edema and mucinous change. There is hyperkeratosis, acanthosis, and papillomatosis from the biopsy from the Gottron's papule. There is thickening of the basement membrane. Muscle biopsy shows cellular infiltrate containing B cells and CD4 plus cells, predominantly in the perivascular and perifascicular areas. There is perifascicular atrophy, and there is deposition of the MAC complex, that is C5b9, on the capillary wall. Fibrosis of muscle fibers are the later findings. Electromyography is helpful in distinguishing the myopathy from neuropathy. Fibrillation potentials are seen. There is positive sharp waves are seen, and the duration of the action potential is short. Biochemical markers, like there is the elevated level of creatinine kinase. It is the most specific and sensitive test. Also, the level of serum aldolase, AST, ALT, and LDH is elevated. Urinary creatinine is also elevated. Serology shows a speckled pattern of anti-nuclear antibodies in about 20% of the cases. Myositis specific antibodies, that is anti-synthetases like anti-Jo1 is positive. Myositis associated antibodies, that is anti-52 kilodalton R0 and anti-U1 ribonucleoprotein antibodies are positive. Now to evaluate the extent of the disease, for pulmonary involvement, chest X-ray, MRI and pulmonary function tests are usually suggested. For cardiac involvement, ECG and echocardiogram are suggested. A about 1/3 of the patient have an underlying malignancy. Thus, the person should be screened for the malignancy as well. The criteria for the diagnosis of the dermatomyositis is Bohan and Peter criteria. The individual criteria are symmetric proximal muscle weakness, muscle biopsy evidence of myositis, increase in serum skeletal muscle enzymes, characteristic electromyographic pattern, and typical rash of dermatomyositis. For the definite diagnosis of dermatomyositis, the typical rash of dermatomyositis is a must, along with any three of the findings from the first four criteria. For the probable diagnosis of the dermatomyositis, the typical rash of dermatomyositis must be present along with any two of the first four criteria. And for the possible diagnosis of the dermatomyositis, the typical rash of dermatomyositis must be present along with any one of the criteria from the first four. These are my references.